Good morning and welcome to the SWOB channel, Suffolk Women Owned Businesses. My name is Sue Hall and my company is Made to Clean. The idea of the SWOB channel is to showcase some of the amazing talent that we have in this county from women who manage to run their own businesses as well as busy homes and families. And there are a lot of them and we are showcasing them one by one. My guest on the sofa today is Caroline Gould and her company is Endless Love. Good morning, Caroline.
Good morning.
Endless Love, what an exotic name that is. You are a wedding planner, aren't you?
I am indeed, yes.
And how did that come about?
That came about kind of by accident, I suppose, really. I was working for TXU Europe, energy company, and TXU got taken over by Powergen. So I was in a redundancy situation, wasn't really sure what to do. They had some careers advisors come in and talk to us, and one of the guys said to me, look on this as an opportunity. This is a chance to get out of IT. If you don't want to be in IT, call centre management, which is what I was doing at the time, do something completely different. And I said to him, I'd like to be a wedding planner, that looks like fun, I'll do that.
And is it fun?
It is fun, yes. Yes, it is fun.
I want to say, to anyone listening who can hear some deep breathing in the background, Presto, my amazing Wheaton Terrier, is with me again this morning. So he has yet to settle, so the panting will subside at some point.
It's not me.
But, to go from a sort of an IT call centre environment to something that really you've got to think on your feet, it's project management. It's highest level, isn't it, really?
I think what I kind of did, initially after that redundancy, I did a couple of years at a hotel, kind of learning the ropes, if you like, and working at a venue and understanding how that works. What I did after that, before setting up on my own, I went back into call centre management for a couple of years. My husband and we'd got engaged and we were buying a new house and all these kind of things, and the wage I was earning at the hotel wasn't going to give me the wedding that I wanted. So that's why I moved off into something else and did that for a couple of years. And actually it was when I went on maternity leave with my eldest that I started doing the research and thought, right, this idea that I've had in my head for the last few years, I've now got a bit of time. How naive am I, thinking having a baby was going to give me time. I thought that would give me a bit of time where I can do the research and find out how exactly can I do this and set up on my own. So I did a course with the UK Alliance of Wedding Planners, which I'm now a member of, and they basically kind of gave us lots of business advice, general kind of how to set up a business, and also how to set up a wedding planning business. There's a lot of wedding planners out there when you start doing the research, and some of them, they all work in different ways. There's a lot like me who we charge a fee to the client, and then we don't handle any of the money that people pay the suppliers directly. Then there's other planners that take a commission from suppliers and
so there's different ways.
There's different ways to do it. The way I wanted to do it was, through my training with the UK Alliance, I thought, this is a really good organisation to be part of, and I am now a member of them. And they have a code of business practice that we all adhere to. So I think by hiring a UK Alliance planner, you know what you're going to get. Basically, it's kind of a standard, and part of that standard is that we don't take any commission from suppliers. We'll always find the right supplier for the client. So I'll spend quite a lot of time talking to the client about exactly what it is they want, what their budget is, and then find the right supplier to match them.
I think that's quite reassuring for a potential client to know that you're not going to push them towards a particular venue or supplier.
No, absolutely.
Because there's a financial incentive.
Yeah, exactly.
For you.
And I think the code of business practice also means that if I have a particular favourite or someone I work with or something like that I declare it to the client anyway. So I will say, there's a cake maker in Capel that is a friend of my mum. She's fantastic, but I will always recommend her because she's so good. But actually, if she was going to be way above budget for the client, if she's not going to be right, then I wouldn't do that. But it's just something that I have to say to them. She is fantastic and she is in your budget, but I need to let you know that she's a friend. So and just being honest about it, really, and just making sure that it's the right thing for the client.
So tell us about the first wedding that you actually did.
the first wedding I did on my own was at Hengrave Hall in Bury St Edmunds. It was for a couple who live in Australia. They wanted to get married in a nice big old country sort of mansion sort of house. They don't have any of those in Australia, so they came over here to Suffolk. So spent a lot of time doing conference calls and things at strange times of day and chatting to them a lot about it in the run-up. And then the actual day, in Bury St Edmunds at Hengrave. So that was a really good one to do, actually. And the bride was originally from Poland, so there were some kind of Polish wedding traditions in there. The groom was English, so there was a bit of English stuff in there. And then most of the bride's family from Australia, which is where they obviously live now. So there was a lot of Australian bits and pieces in there. So
to integrate all the cultural sort of differences must be quite a challenge.
Yeah, it was. I managed to find the only Polish priest in Suffolk.
Where's he hiding?
He's in Ipswich, actually.
Oh.
Yeah. And I've actually done another wedding with him since, so he's definitely in demand. But he came along and did like a Polish blessing after the main Catholic ceremony they had. So that was kind of something for the Polish family that were there, and they had a reading done in Polish as well. So there was a lot of translation. There was a lot of challenges with that wedding, definitely. Hello. And there was just lots of things that I hadn't come across before. So for me, it was a really great learning experience. And I think that helped me with the second Polish wedding I did last year, because they sort of said, we've got this priest, and I said, is it Father Keita? Because knowing that he was the only one, I said, yeah, it is, and that was really nice that there was a lot of things that they were doing that I already knew about because I'd already done that research. So yeah, it's interesting.
Excellent. Well, I know as well that you are one of the co-founders of the Suffolk Wedding Network.
Indeed,
which I think, it's along similar lines of really what I do here on the SWOB channel is to sort of work with a lot of Suffolk local businesses. I think one of the things that you really want to try and achieve is to make Suffolk a destination for weddings, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think myself and Ross Dean, who set up the network, towards the end of last year, we had a chat about networking and how we'd always found that networking was really good, but actually it would be nice if there was something a bit more specific to the wedding industry. We felt there was a bit of a gap there. And we started doing a bit of research and sort of tried to look for something that we could join, and couldn't find anything. So one day I just sort of said, we should set one up. and then we have.
One of those mad ideas.
The way things go, isn't it? So we launched in January, and we've got about 15 or 16 regular members, and it ranges from photographers, cake makers, videographers, florists. We've got the sort of full range of wedding industry suppliers in there. And it's going from strength to strength, really. We organised a styled photo shoot back in March.
Where was that?
That took place at Colne Valley Railway, just in Essex. And Colne Valley were absolutely fantastic. They basically said, there you go, do what you like, you can go anywhere you like, you can do whatever you want. So we were able to use an old signal box, all of the trains. We're using carriages that were once Orient Express carriages, which was just fantastic. And we sort of told the story of a bride and groom sort of going off on their honeymoon or travelling to their wedding. We kind of want the reader to decide what they're doing. But we had lots of vintage luggage and lots of things. And that was a kind of Suffolk Wedding Network collaboration. So we had stationery made for it. We had 2 photographers. We had a short film made. We had dresses, we had the hair and makeup, it was all done by members of the Suffolk Wedding Network, which was fantastic. And that's now being published on a national wedding blog, Whimsical Wonderland Weddings. Fantastic name.
Lovely, cheesy.
So it's been published on there, and it's going to be published more locally quite soon as well, I'm hoping. And sort of off the back of that and off the back of the Suffolk Wedding Network, we've decided to do another styled shoot, which we're doing in October this year at Wolverston Hall.
Okay.
Barry, who runs the weddings at Wolverston Hall, is a member of the Suffolk Wedding Network, and when he heard about the Colne Valley shoot, he said, you know, I'd be quite happy for you to take over Wolverston. And we went over there actually last week to have an initial planning meeting about it, and he gave us a tour of this fantastic building and a fantastic network of tunnels underneath as well, which was great to see.
What were the tunnels for?
The tunnels were what were originally used for the servants to get from one place to another.
Yeah.
So there's a tunnel that goes sort of under the driveway across to the other side. So it's really, really interesting to hear a bit of the history of the building. But the style we've planned for the shoot in October is going to be more about promoting Suffolk. So it's sort of saying to people, open your eyes to Suffolk as a wedding venue, and as a destination to come and get married. And these are all the suppliers that you could have. We're all here waiting, kind of thing. And it's really a case of sort of saying to people, you know, we're not that far from London. Within a couple of hours, you're here. You can get settled. You can get married. You can stay. There's so much more to do than just come for a wedding, you know.
And you know, the really lovely thing about what you're trying to do there, aside from drawing attention to Suffolk, is the collaboration that's going on with you and the other suppliers, you know, that you're all really coming together and because we all know that's the best way of
Absolutely,
working.
yeah. And I think, you know, everyone is donating their time. None of us are being paid to do this work. You know, we can all see the value of coming together in a collaboration like that, and the potential promotion that will come from the other side, you know.
And don't we have some amazing venues to get married
absolutely,
in Suffolk?
yeah, absolutely. There's so many lovely venues in Suffolk.
Where else have you managed to do weddings in Suffolk?
I've done Hengrave Hall that I mentioned. Glenham Hall is another nice one. A lot of these kind of English stately home sort of venues are the ones that I really like. Wolverston Hall is a lovely one as well. And a few others I've done have been like a marquee in the grounds of a house, so in someone's back garden.
And there are again some lovely gardens in
Absolutely, yeah. I do find myself driving around the countryside and looking at empty fields thinking, can I put a marquee on there?
I think also, sorry, Presto's having a little rummage in the corner there. I'm not quite sure what he's found. I'll investigate in a moment. But, you know, I think the other thing is that because we see all the seasons here as well, you know, it's got his favourite, he's found a plastic bottle. He loves it.
That's happy.
Yes, it missed the bin, clearly. You know, to me, it's just sort of like if you get married in the winter and you've got the snow, it just, you know, makes that venue look completely different to how it would be in the summer. And you really need photographers who understand the value of the light and how they can use it.
Definitely. I think we've got 3 photographers in the Suffolk Wedding Network, and they're all very different in their style of photography. So I almost think I'd never need to look elsewhere, but obviously if a client wanted something different I would.
So are you missing any suppliers at the moment? Anything you're looking for particularly?
I don't think we are at the moment, to be honest. We've got kind of one of everything, but people are always welcome to join. I think you know, we think of ourselves as quite forward-thinking. We're kind of always looking for kind of the next big thing coming along in weddings, and we're looking at trends and things. And at the moment, there's a lot of people doing vintage-style weddings and a lot of DIY and that kind of thing.
Presto! Sorry, excuse me.
That's right.
Come on, he's looking so adorable, I can't tell you, but he's making too much noise. Alright, he'll get bored in a second, sorry.
So vintage and DIY is a big trend at the moment, but because we've all been in the industry for a long time, we read all the wedding blogs, we look at what's going on nationally, we're kind of seeing the end of that trend, which kind of feels like it's almost only just got to Suffolk.
Oh, really?
So we're always looking for the next thing, and I think weddings are going to become more modern. I think there's going to be a more modern trend and maybe more minimal. I think there's a big kind of trend in the States where weddings last 3 or 4 days. You know, they have their rehearsal dinner, they have their wedding day, they have a breakfast or something the next day. You know, things last a lot longer, and I think we could see that coming more over to the UK, and I think Suffolk is a fantastic place for that. You know, there's so many venues where you could have a separate venue for those sort of 3 events, as it were, but all within driving with each other.
So, do you get involved in helping to plan the stag nights and the hen nights or anything, or is it just the wedding itself?
Not very often stag and hen, but I can do if people want me to. It tends to be just the wedding day, and sometimes it's week of, if you like. So it'll be the rehearsal dinner, it'll be the kind of girls' fun day the day before, and it'll be the breakfast or lunch or whatever it may be the day after. So it does tend to be maybe 2 or 3 days rather than just a one-day event. Yeah.
No, I think but what for me is really encouraging is that they are still happening. You know, people are finding the money for them, and you know, especially with money being such a hot topic at the moment. When you're first starting out, what do? Do you have the wedding of your dreams, or do you put towards a deposit for your house? It's a big choice to make sometimes.
It is. It's a tough one, and I think people are cutting back a bit. You know, I'm definitely seeing that. Even the people that have got a big budget are definitely being careful about what they spend. I mean, the wedding I mentioned at Hengrave Hall, their budget was 60,000.
Oh, wow!
So but they didn't fritter it away. You know, they were still quite careful on what they spent. You know, and they were making decisions on things. You know, one example, they were looking at either having a creche or having fireworks. And they worked out a similar price, and they decided that as only about 3 or 4 children would benefit from the creche, they'd have the fireworks. So, because everyone could enjoy those, and that was one of the, and I think within their budget they could have done both, but they made kind of a decision on that. I thought actually this is perhaps not the best way to spend the money. So,
Okay, so did that 60,000 include the honeymoon?
No.
The honeymoon was on top.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a lovely wedding actually.
Is that the most expensive budget you've had?
It's the most expensive one I've dealt with, yeah. And I think it sounds like a lot of money. It is a lot of money, but as a percentage of what that couple earned, I don't think they spent any more than anybody else would have spent.
Wow,
if that makes sense. They were high earners, and actually, for them, that was a careful amount to spend. They could have spent a lot more. They could have afforded.
Do most people know what they want, or are they open? They're open to suggestions right from the beginning.
Yeah, I think the best couple for me are a couple that know exactly what they want and when they want it to happen. That's brilliant. That's great for me because it takes a lot of my work out of it. Yeah. The more difficult ones are when I say to them, so, have you thought about a theme, have you got any colours, anything like that in mind? I say, I don't know. But usually people do know. Once you start asking questions, and once I sit them in front of sort of a few wedding magazines or something like that, we start to have a look through, and people usually do know what they like and what they don't like, and
you start to
usually
get an idea,
you can gradually build up
a
theme. Yeah. One of the things I do for couples is put together like a design board. Which now I've started doing on Pinterest, just because it's much easier. We can kind of share it and they can pin to it.
For the benefit of those people watching who don't know what Pinterest is, join my club. No, it's one of the social media platforms, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great. It's great for sharing photographs and for like the style shoot we're doing later this year. We've all got access to a board on there and we're all sort of putting our ideas on. And it's really like we may have all got together and had kind of a brainstorm meeting to come up with that theme, but actually we can all do it from home when it's convenient to us and just pin a few things on, and then it's really helpful. Everyone can see it.
And that brings us back around actually to, you operate your business from home, don't you? Around a busy family, and, your husband works.
He does.
It's important to you to have something that fits around.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't think I could do this job if it didn't fit in with family, really. That, it's as simple as that. My husband works from home as well, so we have a shared office, which sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. And we've got 2 children at home as well, so I think just working from home is the only way I could do it. If I had to go into an office every day, I couldn't nip upstairs at 8 o'clock when I've remembered I need to send an email or just check something, And I can't meet people like this without, things need to be planned, but luckily I'm quite good at that.
I would hope so, Caroline, yes. Well, you've gone from strength to strength in the time that I've known you, and obviously collaborating, doing the networking that you've spoken about, and you're also a WIRE member, aren't you?
Yes,
you come to my Ipswich group as well. For me, it's reassuring that a woman-owned business is a success, and each time you come to a wine meeting, I think you meet someone else that you think, actually, yes, there's somebody that I need to connect with. And how have you felt that networking generally has helped you?
Networking generally really good. I think a lot of people said to me, other wedding planners said to me when I joined, oh, don't worry about going to other networking groups because you end up in a room of solicitors and accountants and what are you ever going to do with them? And I thought, well, yes, I kind of see your point. But actually, Wire is probably one of the few that stand out for me, which is why it's one of the only other ones I go to apart from the Suffolk Wedding Network, because it's so supportive and it feels like it's a team, and actually it's quite good that there's not loads of people in the wedding industry, because I can talk to them about something that's happening in my industry and they're completely new to it, so it can give me kind of a fresh opinion. It's a fresh pair of eyes on something, which is great. And there's such a variety of people there as well, which is brilliant. And I always think you never know who people know.
That's right. The unknown network.
You never know, yeah, absolutely. And I know that I could go there and say, with the most random requests, and say, oh, I need help with X, Y, Z. And someone would know.
Someone in that room is going to put their hand up and say, I don't know if they know directly, but they're going to know someone.
Absolutely.
They'll point you down a path, basically.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah. And I think, I think Suffolk generally is quite supportive like that, isn't there? There's a Facebook group for people who are running their own business in Suffolk. Yeah. There's all sorts of help there if you want it. There's organisations like Mentor for business training and stuff. Yeah. So I think we're quite lucky, really.
I think we are, definitely.
So what's the future hold for the Suffolk Wedding Network then? What are the plans, the vision of you and Ross?
I should point out that we're not married. People do think that we're married quite a lot because we get badged together. I think the Suffolk Wedding Network, at the moment, we're kind of seeing how it goes. We're only 6 months in, we're already getting people saying, I'm hearing a lot about this, can I come please, and we're not an exclusive club or anything like that, we're just a group of fellow wedding professionals who have made a decision to get together for a drink once a month, So
at wedding fairs and that, would you exhibit as the Suffolk Wedding Network, or would you still continue to
probably not as the Suffolk Wedding Network. I think we would exhibit individually. I think I don't really exhibit at fairs anymore because I find that the clients I'm looking for are not at wedding fairs. I think if they've got time to go to a wedding fair, they've probably got time to plan their own wedding, and that's not the sort of the clients I tend to be those that haven't got time. So they tend not to be there. But I do go along to a lot of them. So I think that in a way helps me to help the other members of the network to make suggestions of which ones I think they may benefit from, because there's something for everybody at all of the wedding fairs, and there are a lot at the moment. There's always a wedding fair. When we get to kind of September, October time, wedding season kind of ends and wedding fair season begins, and that's where it gets busy kind of over the winter. And I think particularly December to February tends to be engagement season. That's when most people get engaged, around Christmas up to Valentine's Day.
Oh, we are creatures of habit. Corny, I suppose we are. It's interesting though that there are seasons for getting engaged, getting married, planning your wedding, etc.
It is. It's strange, and I see inquiries go up around spring, because that's when a lot of people get engaged, and that's when they're looking for support,
So between now and, as you say, the end of the season, how many weddings have you got in your own pipeline?
I've not got any weddings at the moment. I've got a couple of inquiries outstanding, but that's it at the moment, and that's largely because I took most of last year off when I had my little boy. So I had a bit of time off, and because usually I'm planning a year ahead, so it's actually this year that it's hit me rather than last year. So, so that was a lovely summer though, to have a bit of time off with the children.
Well, and like we said, it's a job that fits around that.
Absolutely,
And that becomes, this is time you can never get back. So you have to, it has to be right for you. Yeah. So given that you can pretty much get married anywhere these days, can't you? What's the most interesting venue that you've, or unusual venue that you've come across so far?
Probably one of the more unusual is there's a venue called Kenton Hall Estate, which is out near Debenham. Another great Suffolk venue. It's run by Emily McVeigh, who is a Suffolk Wedding Network member, unsurprisingly. And we did a photo shoot for her a few weeks ago, actually. The photos are still to come from that. And she's got a marquee in the grounds of the farm. They've also got a big woodland area that has a yurt and a shepherd hut where you can go glamping.
Okay.
And it's just a really unique venue. The grounds and things, I mean, a marquee is a marquee, but you can dress that up however you want. The good thing about that venue is that the venue are very flexible. The woodland shoot we did was a couple of weeks ago, beginning of July. You would expect the weather to be nice.
Not in this country.
It chucked it down the whole day. And we were planning to do some things in the woodland, which we couldn't do. So we brought some trees into the marquee, as you do, some wooden logs, benches, all sorts of things. We basically brought the woodland in, and we set up a sort of mock ceremony scene within the marquee. And we had a kind of woodland, earthy sort of themed wedding that we did a shoot for. So there'll be photos coming soon on that.
Oh, well, that's really and you know, fitting. Although you say that people don't always come to you with any ideas about what they want, they do lean towards one or the other, don't they? Want traditional, formal.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think in Suffolk we've got a fantastic range of sort of hotels and stately homes for sort of a more traditional style wedding. And there's also some really lovely, more unusual venues. So you've got venues like Butley Priory, that's a sort of a smaller house, and just a lot of character in some of the old buildings that we've got. And then there's Woodhall Manor, which is another lovely one where they've got a beautiful garden where you can get married outside, and just lovely, just some really nice places. And I think it's going to get a lot more interesting. In October, the laws change for civil ceremonies. At the moment, you can only get married between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. This is because of a law that was put in place before electricity was invented. This is how old it is. Because you shouldn't get married after 6 o'clock because you might not be able to see properly and know that it's the right person.
Oh, wow, funny.
What a ridiculous law. Yeah, and that law is still in place.
So gaslight wasn't sufficient to be able to see who you were getting married to.
In October, that all changes, so you can get married at any time.
So 24 hours a day?
Yeah, so I think we're going to see a lot more kind of early evening weddings. And I think we may take more of a trend from the States again. In the States, they tend to get married early evening, but they have what they call a first look, where the bride and groom get together before the ceremony and go off and have their photos and all that kind of thing is done. Then they have the ceremony, have cocktail hour, straight to dinner and dancing, and that's kind of their wedding day. And I think we could see a bit more of that, where perhaps the celebration starts earlier and the ceremony is later. I think it will take a while for that, because I'm still in a kind of, well, you mustn't see me before I get married. You know, I would still have that mentality, I think. But I think it will come in the future, and I think people will see that the beauty of getting married, perhaps say somewhere in North Norfolk where you can watch the sunset, and getting married at sunset would be fantastic, and then having dinner first or after, I don't know.
So I see where your role begins. Hopefully the minute they've got engaged, they call you.
Yeah, that's the plan.
But where does your role actually end? Are you there on the day?
Yes, yeah. So I'm there usually until the first dance, and sometimes I'm back the next day, depending on the type of wedding. But yeah, usually from engagement to honeymoon is what I usually say. Right. So we'll start initially with looking at sourcing venue suppliers, everything they need. That's kind of the initial bit of work. The next bit of work probably takes place about 4 months before the wedding day, which is when we're starting to confirm all these suppliers and tell them exactly what it is we want. So that's when the kind of theme and style and design and all that comes together. And then probably the last month running up to the wedding is when we're confirming everything with suppliers, and I'm kind of speaking to all the suppliers saying, I'm your contact on the day, and kind of liaising with the bride and groom, and
and taking that stress away from the family.
Absolutely, yeah.
Whoever's paying for it, and I think that's another thing. It's not typically always the father of the bride anymore that coughs up, is it?
Not at all. No, I think people are getting married later in life. I think people are probably more. Whereas before they may have been early to mid-20s, I now think they're probably early 30s perhaps when they're getting married. So they've already got careers established, separately they've both got careers, so they're perhaps earning more money. they want something nice. And I think the father of the bride, or both sets of parents, do usually tend to contribute, but I think the bride and groom are more leading it in terms of money, and I think that's good. And I mean, my parents paid for a lot of my wedding, thanks Dad. And in that situation, they felt that because they're paying for it, they can invite some people to come along. And perhaps if me and my husband were paying, we wouldn't have invited those people if that...
So is it a way for the couple to keep more control?
I think so, yeah. I think they can keep more control. And I think over everything as well. It's not just over the guest list, you know, it's everything. It's the style, the design, the bridesmaid, you know, what everyone's wearing, all that kind of thing. I think they feel a lot more in control as well.
So have you got this massive checklist that you go around with on the day?
I have a lot of spreadsheets. And I will always have a clipboard on the day. Right. I don't like to be too far away from it. So one of the things I'll do probably about a week before the wedding is sit with the bride and groom and work out their schedule for the day. So it will start from them getting up and it'll end with them going to bed, more or less. And it'll be everything that needs to happen throughout the whole day. And usually I will be present at most of that. So it's, you know, what time they're having hair and makeup done, what time the photographers are arriving, what time they're eating before they go to the ceremony, because a lot of brides don't do that, and they should. A lot of brides forget to eat and then they just end up feeling ill the rest of the day, so they must eat before they go to the ceremony. And then the ceremony sort of happens, and then kind of everything that happens, whether we're going from one venue to another, or so it runs the whole day. And throughout that day, the bride and groom only have me that they need to talk to, and I will talk to all of the suppliers that are involved.
So
and
the photographer, the caterer,
So if anything happens on the day, they come to me, and hopefully, you know, if there's a problem or anything like that, I can sort it out without the bride and groom having to worry about it, you know, and it's kind of taking that stress away from them, and, you know, they can just enjoy the day knowing that I'm there kind of keeping all of on top of everything.
Oh.
That's the plan.
But there must be a huge feel-good factor. You're not just doing a job. This is the most memorable day, or supposed to be the happiest, most memorable day of a couple's life.
Absolutely.
So, and you've had this massive part to play in it. So you must feel really...
It's a big responsibility. But no, it's great. Seeing it all come together on the day is fantastic. And I think... because I spend so much time with these people, usually the bride as well, we build up a relationship over probably a year, and, you know, I do become friends with a lot of them and do keep in touch with a lot of them. It's an anniversary today of a wedding I did last year for a couple, and they've just had a baby, and I'm going to see them in a few weeks. So, you know, it's lovely to kind of keep in touch with people and
also
catch up with them.
The best business will become from a referral anyway. So if they've used you successfully, they're going to recommend you to anyone else they encounter. And I don't think it matters if you are in a room full of solicitors and accountants. They get married too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and they know people who get married.
Exactly. Well, I know you've spoken passionately about some of the venues that we've got here in Suffolk. I know you're a local Suffolk girl.
I am indeed. Yep.
Where were you born?
Ipswich Hospital.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yep, always lived in Ipswich, and actually now live round the corner from my mum and dad's house where I grew up, so I haven't gone very far at all.
Oh, that's okay. I mean, you know, you do what, you know, it is right for you. And, you know, I know from when I go and interview some cleaners, they haven't got driving licences because they don't need it.
They don't need
They're
it,
quite happy, you know, to sort of be in their own little place.
Absolutely.
And never had a passport. You never been out of the country. But, no, well, for me, somebody who really loves Suffolk, see, I'm an immigrant. As you can probably tell. Yes. A Londoner who's seen the light, I like to think of myself.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
And the light in Suffolk is amazing. Right?
It is.
But I've only been here 6 years, you know, so I've got no idea what it must be like, the changes you must have seen in this county. But,
definitely.
you know, I think that what you're doing with the Suffolk Wedding Network is embracing all the good stuff and trying to bring together a lot of suppliers at a time when getting business is quite hard. You know, and working as a team and being able to offer that sort of one-stop shop, if you like.
Absolutely, yeah.
Takes a lot of the pressure off of any couple.
It does, and it makes my job a lot easier. It's like the next client I have that comes saying, I want to get married here and this is what I need. I've got a group that I can just go, right, come on, we're in. We've got a job. So it's fantastic, really. So
if I said to you, I want handmade wedding rings, you'd have somebody who could do that.
Yeah,
would you?
Yeah. Maybe not in Suffolk, but yes. I've got a supplier database that I keep that I haven't updated it recently, but last count it was almost up to 1,000 different suppliers, and that's nationwide.
Okay.
I
think I'm not likely to ask you. But I just pulled that out of the air just to see what.
No, I had actually a groom 2 years ago now. He's a tree surgeon, and has got a wooden ring that was made specially for him.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
A wooden wedding ring.
Is made of wood.
I would think I wouldn't wear one. I wouldn't wear one.
No, I don't think he wears it when he's got his chainsaw.
I think that's a little bit too difficult. And then to rub two rings together, you'd set fire to the fingers. So Caroline, we've heard about how you stumbled onto this new career of yours. Is there something in your past that that people don't necessarily know about you? Some kind of quirky fact you'd like to share with us?
When I first started in the wedding industry, I was invited to audition for a TV show.
Oh, right.
Didn't go anywhere. The TV show never got made, but I had a fantastic experience going down to Elstree Studios and having a little wander around, and then going in for an interview with these two guys. That was kind of my first experience of being on camera, which was interesting.
Did you see anyone famous that day?
No. Unfortunately not. There was rumours of lots of famous people being there, and I was... But no.
Elstree is a legend in the film industry, isn't it?
It was quite an experience to kind of go there and be there and think of all the people that have been here once, and it was quite an experience. Yeah.
So for anybody watching this programme who is thinking, actually, I never thought about having a wedding planner, but now I am.
That's good.
How would they get in touch with you?
They can go to my website, which is endless-love.co.uk. They can contact me on Twitter, which is EL Weddings. On Facebook, I am Endless Love Wedding Planners. And on Pinterest, I am EL Weddings. I think that's everywhere.
And how did the name Endless Love come? Was that a brainstorming session, or did it just come to you one day?
Yeah, it took about 6 months, I would say. When I first launched... the first thing I wanted was I've got to come up with a really good name that kind of fits with the industry and works for me, something that I'm not. I didn't want anything too kind of dream weddings, really fluffy. I didn't like that kind of thing.
The whimsical wedding.
Yeah, that would have been a bit too much for me. So I spent a long time thinking about, and I had masses of lists. I'm a list person, unsurprisingly. Of what it could be. And then my husband said to me, why don't you look at songs and things, have a look at, and perhaps something from song lyrics would work. And I started looking at that and came across Endless Love and thought, oh, actually, that's quite nice. And the biggest thing for me was I found lots of other names before that I liked but couldn't get the website. So that was quite important for me. I thought, I don't want to be called something and then the website is something else. I wanted the website to be the name. So that's what it is.
Wow, Caroline, endlesslove.co.uk.
Yeah, indeed.
Thank you very much for being my guest today.